I should say, the U.S., North America, the EU. What you find is that in all of these companies, countries, you see a tremendous amount of progress being made on decarbonizing, certainly the electricity sector. What is not necessarily something that's front of mind in most people is that's not where the action for climate change is actually going to occur. It's going to occur in Asia. The biggest, if you look at all of the projections of what we're doing today, the accelerated technology or accelerated, policy scenarios versus those that are not, what you will find is one common element, and that is Asia, including China and India, and the rest of the world, which typically means Africa, are the places where this battle will be fought and ultimately won or lost. When I say won or lost, I mean how much are we going to do toward decarbonizing our global economy, because that's where the maximum emissions will occur. And unless we do something that makes it attractive for them to adopt new technologies, not the technologies we grew up with, we're going to find it very challenging to meet any of our climate change goals. So that being the case, I think we need to be leaders. We need to be leaders in the world. This is why we want to move. And frankly, we have an aging system that needs essentially investment. So let's think about what the new stuff is as opposed to what the old stuff is. So those are kind of key points that I wanted to make. A few other things that I think are important, and that is the way in which the market conditions have changed. And now we have an administration that is very much focused on making sure that as we make transitions, first of all, we recover from the pandemic, which is an economic development thing. It's everywhere I go, it's about jobs. In all of the academic institutions, it's about how do you create jobs, how do you create job opportunities, and what we want to make sure we're doing is ensuring that in the U.S., that the investments that we make in research, that we make in deployment, that those benefits accrue to the U.S. In the past, we've been in the position where we did, hey, let's do great research. We're not really a fan of what we used to call industrial policy. And in fact, what that would do is to say, throw the research results over the wall, good things will happen. And when the U.S. was the major economy in the world, and this is where all the markets were, that was an okay strategy. Not okay today. We learned that in the pandemic, and we learned that you need to onshore, greenshore, nearshore our supply chains. We recognize that those are challenges. We need to figure out that not just in national security and in health, but in energy. These are the things that we need to do. And so the new approach with the new administration, and I've helped advise them. I come kind of from a nonpartisan sort of approach to this issue. But the challenges that I see are things that you need to be able to include the vast majority of the intellectual capital and the business creation opportunities in the middle of the country. And primarily that's in areas that are underserved or rural or otherwise have other challenges, not just on the coast of the country. And that, in fact, requires that you do a variety of things. Part of the reason that I also jumped at the opportunity to come back to my alma mater was because I saw the opportunity space. There is, essentially, we're underperforming in a lot of different metrics. We need to do better. There are certain things that can be done. We live in a very, very complex, kind of bureaucratic, public sort of environment, but it is what we've got. We've got to work with it. Let's do the best, and there's a number of things that we can do to improve. As we think about those, though, the opportunity space in front of us, especially in the clean energy area, is really around this new notion that we're going to make sure that the U.S. benefits from the investments that we're making. This is, I think it's a move in the right direction from my own personal perspective, because I think what it says is we recognize there is talent in this country that needs to be tapped, and that talent needs to have access to the same kinds of competencies, capabilities, and infrastructures that are necessary. So one of the things that I see as important, certainly from an academic institution, is let's build the capacity and the capabilities that we know are necessary for the industries of the future. For how do we attract these businesses into our communities? How do we support entrepreneurial services and those kinds of things? And unless we're doing that very actively, proactively, we simply get left behind. And there's plenty of good ideas out there, but not everyone has access to the resources that will ultimately fund and ultimately, I think, develop and deploy those good ideas. And so that's where I think the entrepreneurial spirit of what's happening certainly in New Mexico is a big piece of that. It's not lost on me that as we look at the new energy economy, so you start now looking at all of the jobs that it's creating. There's, it depends on how you count. There's a number of different ways to do that. And so we typically talk in percentages, not in absolute numbers. But there's something on the order of 2 million jobs that are just energy efficiency. And I've always said, and anything that relates to decarbonization starts with efficiency. It just makes no sense to throw green electrons or green molecules into an environment that is wasteful in terms of efficiencies or essentially the way in which we ultimately use those technologies. So that said, there's like literally 2 million jobs or so in efficiency. I might add that, people of color, and specifically the Hispano and the Latino community, are actually playing in the clean energy economy at about the same rate as our population distribution. In other words, it's like 18%. And so I think we're at 17% in terms of clean energy jobs, essentially by people of color. The Hispanic community actually does relatively well in some elements of the clean energy economy, whether it be solar and wind, technicians and maintenance and installations. The challenge is that even though we're participating at a greater role than in some other areas of our economy, the challenge that we have is that we're not populating the best jobs. So we tend to focus on the construction jobs, on the jobs that pay $24 an hour kind of thing. There are jobs certainly in some of the areas of, especially the applications of efficiency and other technologies that are in the $35 to $40, and that's more like what I think is a very, very comfortable professional I think career for workers in this particular sector. So as I look at what are the opportunity spaces, clearly one of the big issues that certainly the administration is focused on is let's electrify, let's decarbonize the power system, and then let's electrify what we call beneficial electrification, other elements that ultimately might run on a fuel of some sort rather than on electricity, and let's do that. And a perfect example of that, of course, is electric vehicles. So when you start with the process of let's decarbonize the power sector, that's actually a driver for a number of the other sectors, the residential and commercial sector, the industry sector, and the transportation sector. So that's kind of one big move. It's kind of the low-hanging fruit. It's kind of the easy thing to do, but it's not sufficient. We've got to do so much more. And that's where the opportunity space, I think, really, really starts to unfold and really get to where we need to go. I think so many of the opportunities are in industries, what we call them industries of the future. We tell our students, in their, as they start thinking about where their, ultimate job profession how it will unfold, we tell them frequently that we're preparing you for an environment where people change jobs, 4 to 7 times in their career. Something like 40% of the jobs that will exist in 10 years from now don't exist today. Things that relate to cybersecurity, that relate to all things big data, AI, the artificial intelligence, all the virtual and virtual reality and augmented reality world, machine learning, massive data sets. These are all new technologies that pervade all of the industries that we have, and specifically the industry that we're focused on here, which is clean energy or low carbon energy. So much to do, and so much I think ways in which we can actually support that. I'm a big fan of the kinds of things that we're talking about at PCAST. So Ernie mentioned I got all these other things that I do on a regular basis. PCAST is one of those, the President's Council of Advisors on Science and Technology. And what we do in those is we meet with the president. We've met both the president and the vice president in this particular role so far. We'll meet with the president again in July. And we're offering the president topics that the administration can promote that ultimately can move the needle. It does not go to an agency. It goes directly to the president. We get a chance. We don't have to go through a filter of some sort. We actually get a chance to talk with him one-on-one. What we're focused on is several different things. Obviously, what do we learn from the pandemic? The S&T workforce of the future, especially the federal workforce, because it's really in trouble. We know we need to do better there. I'm on also a working group that's focused on extreme weather, and also the financial implications of of severe weather, extreme weather, and we're looking at the models that are used for essentially predicting, where's the calamities of the disasters going to occur? How do we protect ourselves against those? Whether it be flood, earthquakes, fires, hail, a variety of things that we know are going to be troublesome for our population, and many times the underserved communities are the ones that are mostly impacted on that. So we're looking at things like declassifying the military information that we've collected over many years from satellite data. We can actually use that as big population data sets for better extreme weather modeling, and talking with the insurance carriers and other things. I think it's an area that we can make some movement on to help communities actually protect themselves against the adaptation of extreme weather. Because, frankly, like it or not, we are in a position where we've really got to do quite a bit more in order to really be ready. And I'm getting the hook here, so I'm going to end with on a couple of final things, and that is New Mexico State University, I think, is well positioned to be part of the ecosystem that reflects and responds to the things that I think the nation needs, and what we as a community people, and especially those of us that are representatives of the Latino community, can say these are things that we as a community can really take full advantage of. This is a window of opportunity, and we need to be able to do that. At New Mexico State, we've got the Arrowhead Center. We've got a number of other efforts that we have from an institutional standpoint to really build and collect and create that next generation of workers and professionals that are focused on things and entrepreneurial and the low carbon economy that is going to create a number of very important, I think, elements for the future. So for that, I applaud the work of the Chamber. I appreciate the fact that you're focused on energy for these particular sessions, and just will offer that we can lend whatever level of support that we can to your efforts here. And just know you've got a partner in New Mexico State, and really a partner in New Mexico for the national group on things that are important to us going forward in the clean energy space, which I think, again, great opportunity for New Mexico, for the nation, and for the Latino community. Thank you all, and we appreciate your effort. Thank you.